Hi, welcome to Gene Rants. I'm Gene, and today we will be talking about communism because New York just elected, as we all know, a communist mayor. And one of the reasons, well, there's more than one reason why he won. I mean, one reason was a low turnout primary. Democrats, sensible Democrats, moderate Democrats, of which there are fewer and fewer in New York, they didn't turn out for the primary. And so that's what usually happens in primary. The true believers, the ones who are most into politics, they turn out and vote. So that's one reason he won. Another reason he won, well, it's a double reason. Young college graduates who are finding the cost of living in New York hard to deal with, and their lack of well-paying employment. And as I did the video before this one, yesterday's video showed just a 16-second, that's all it took, 16-second clip from Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, saying one of the reasons they voted for him because these college grads is precisely because they're finding that their college degrees, number one, are not as valued in the marketplace as they thought. I mean, who wants if your major is gender studies, what can you be hired for except to teach a class on gender studies? And I would say that the number of people educated with degrees in gender studies outnumbers probably by far the number of people, the number of teaching positions there are to teach gender studies and then create even more gender study graduates who in turn will not be able to get a job. Anyways, so as Alex Karp said, that he said that, well, they resent it. They resent that they're not as valued in the marketplace as they thought they would. Meanwhile, the blue collar worker down the street, the Karp's example was people working on oil wells and things like that. But it could be welders, it could be anything. I read about electrician, under 30 electrician who's already, a couple of them, they've already been poached, headhunted into 5 different jobs, and they're making like $250,000 a year. So these college students, they're angry about it. It makes them angry as blank, starts with an F. That's what Karp said. And it pisses the blank out of them. Okay, so that's one reason. But the other one is they think that communism is going to give them everything that they want, and that communism is a wonderful system. What they don't understand is that, taken to its logical conclusion, a lot of people have been killed from communism. So maybe this is a good time to just insert that. I don't think, I am not saying, I'm not predicting that Zoran Mamdani is going to, well, I think he's not going to kill anybody, number one, because he can't, but also you could say well, I mean, that's the same thing as we'll see some of these dictators. I'll be talking about Mao Zedong, right? He didn't go, I mean, he killed a lot of people, but a lot of people just died from starvation because because communism doesn't work. And what you're going to find if Mamdani goes through what he said he's going to do, defunds the police so that there are fewer police officers, and he's going to send out social workers instead. And then you already have policemen quitting, and I predict there will be more. So you're going to have more murders. That's what I think could happen. Maybe not. Well, it depends. If he keeps on the current police commissioner Schiff, she's doing a really great job, and if she stays on, then maybe things will be okay. But it depends whether the police are able to do their job. Now, there already are. There's I guess you'd call an ethics. When the cop shoots somebody, then they have an investigation. Was it a justified shooting? And they will have. The police department has a unit to investigate that, but they want to. Mamdani, one of the things he was talking about was take that power away from them and give it to the far left city council, and that they would decide. So if you're a cop and you really want to take a risk on confronting a criminal, if you may find yourself in front of the New York City council, I mean, so you see, people could die. And that's what happened. A lot of the people who died under communism wasn't always from, I would even say that's a minority of the deaths of a dictator out and out ordering a death, but just communism the way it offers. Well, Pol Pot, we'll be talking about him in a moment. He took people out of the city dwellers, comfortable city dwellers, and forcibly moved them out into the country to have them work 18 hours a day planting and harvesting. And of course, nothing got planted, nothing got harvested. If whatever got planted didn't get harvested. And well, I'm not going to show you a grisly photo of a mountain of skulls, but you get the idea. So that's what communism is. Now, I'm going to go now through a list of just dictators. There are several of them here, and you will know, I think you'll be able to tell which ones are communists, and just the number of people who have died under their dictatorships. So let me put up the chart. Now, I realize that this chart is hard to read. So, in fact, I myself had to go on Google and had to kind of search around to find all these names. And it took a little while because the names are hard to read. Also, the number of deaths. So, but you can kind of get an idea just by looking at the chart. But I'm going to go left to right with all the names and all the numbers, so you'll get it. But this is these red things, these red symbols that you're seeing. Those are drops of blood drops. Each one of those drops, each one of those little symbols there signifies 1 million. Not 1,000, not 100,000, 1 million deaths. So let's go left to right here. Okay, and I said some of these are your garden variety, just dictators, but you'll know which ones are communists. And here we go. Starting from left to right, Yakubu Gowon, Nigeria, 1 million, okay? Mengistu Haile Mariam, Ethiopia, and he was responsible for, looks like a 1.5 million, we'll say. Then you have Kim Il-sung, North Korea, the first dictator of North Korea, and you have him, 2 million. And then you have Pol Pot, Cambodia. I thought this would have been higher, but 2 million. And so you have Pol Pot, Cambodia, 2 million. You have next, going left to right, Ismail Enver Pasha, Turkey, responsible for, looks like 2.5 million there. Then you have 5 million, Hideki Tojo. He was a dictator of Japan during World War II. Then you have Leopold II of Belgium. Now we start getting the higher numbers. So Belgium, I should have wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 million. Okay, 15 million. And that's not, make no mistake, we're not talking about 15 million Belgians. We're talking about the Congo. The Congo, as you probably know, was a possession of Belgium. It was a Belgian colony, so Belgian colony. Okay, so now we get into the big boys. Adolf Hitler, 17 million. And you can argue he wasn't a communist. He hated communists, but as did all the Nazis. When World War II, when they were losing, they realized they were losing World War II, these generals fell all over themselves to surrender to the Americans, to the Allies. They did not want to surrender to the Russians, which is understandable since Hitler made a pact with Stalin to divide Poland between them, and then Hitler turned on Russia, right, and invaded Russia. But anyway, 17 million. And then we get to now Joseph Stalin, 23 million people under, and that was a straight out and out communist, as was Pol Pot and Kim Il-sung. Okay, but now we get into really big numbers. Joseph Stalin, 23 million. This was the Soviet Union, and which it was at the time. And finally, last but not least number of deaths by far, Mao Zedong, China. And you can see that is 76 million. 76 million. for, well, his cultural revolution, forcibly moving people into the, from the cities into the countryside. And, well, they just starved. Mao Zedong did not starve, but a lot of these people died from starvation. That is communism. That is communism. That is a system that these useful idiots in the universities think that is so great. So as I said, what I expect in New York is you're going to have people, dying for murders. So again, I'm not saying that MAMDANI is going to kill people, order people killed, because, well, if for no other reason, as I said, that he can't. Even this is still America, and New York. I lived in New York for 40 years. I've mentioned it so many times, for a little over 40 years, like 41 years. So New York, it's still America, but we'll see how much longer it's America. Anyways, that's for today. Love to hear your comments in the comments section below, especially if you live in New York, and whether you voted for MAMDANI or against MAMDANI, or just stayed home and said to heck with it, which is I should just mention, because I think it's going, as I said in an earlier vlog, no matter how bad it gets in New York, he will be reelected. And maybe the next person will be, probably, unless they come to their senses, as they did when they elected Giuliani, but the lesson didn't take. But if for no other reason, that the people who would, I mean, you see this in other cities. I think you'll see it increasingly, that sometimes you have some places that are solidly red, solidly conservative, Republican, whatever. Then you have places that are solidly blue, and then you have these swing areas that sometimes vote for Democrats, sometimes vote for the Republican. And if you're a conservative or even a moderate Democrat, and you realize, but we'll say you're a conservative and you realize that there is no longer, as in California used to be a conservative. Ronald Reagan was governor of California for 2 terms. California was a very conservative state, and when this shows you what this is what Democrats want. This shows you what mass immigration does. They brought all these Hispanics in, and who would vote, immigrants, legal and illegal, who would eventually get to vote, but we'll stick with legal, and they get, the city is now solidly blue, and people are leaving. And because all the people who would vote for Republicans are leaving, it's more and more, it becomes even more and more liberal, and the chances of a Republican winning get less and less. Though there may be a caveat here, okay? There may be a caveat, because the Republican, why can't I remember his name? He's a British guy, and he was a talking head a lot of times on California. Anyhow, one poll shows him actually ahead of the Democrat, the leading Democrat, which is Katie Porter. And well, the guy, the Republican, it's Steve, and I don't, it starts with a C, his last name. If I can find it, I'll put it, well, why bother? The point is that he is actually leading. Katie Porter, if you've been following her at all, there was these viral videos of her just screaming at her staff and walking out of interviews and so on and so forth, and that's probably helping. But they have what they call a jungle election in California, which is that anybody can run. You can have more than one Democrat. You can have whatever, and then the 2 top vote getters, then there's a runoff. So that's why you can sometimes find the top 2 vote getters are 2 Democrats, and you have 2 Democrats, one Democrat running against another. Anyways, as usual, rambling at the end. So that's because I love you all so much, and I just hate to leave. So anyways, that's it for today. Your comments welcome in the comments section below the video. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me. Oh, did I subscribe? Of course, subscribe. But most of all, come back and see me again. I'd love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.